Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the SMB Talks episode 32. So, I have been telling you guys that this show is very close to my heart, and I started this show to bring on folks who are inspiring and who are so knowledgeable in their field that they can share some tips with us. All right. So we have been listening to a lot of amazing guests coming on the show. Right. We had Rand Fishkin coming. We have a lot of amazing people uh, sharing their story, their journey, and their COVID challenges. What are they looking forward to, etc., etc. So as I started the show, I wanted the show to be a platform where SMB owners can tune in and take something of value home, right? So, as I am a marketer for several years now, I am very passionate about marketing, helping SMBs with their marketing, because marketing is a field which, for most of the small and medium business owners, it sounds like it is like rocket science, right? And people take advantage of this, to be honest with you. I'm not blaming anybody, but there are marketing consultants, there are specific SEO consultants, etc., who take advantage of the fact that SMB owners consider marketing as something, uh, incomprehensible for them, right? But it's not the case. Marketing is effectively telling your story to your audience using various platforms and things like that. Right. So one of the major, as everything is digital these days, one of the major factors or major areas where marketing focuses on is SEO, search engine optimization. Right. So that is where lot of folks who spread a lot of myths and who want to keep SEO as something which can only be done by them, etc., etc. So I wanted to bring on somebody who knows SEO inside out, right? Who has done stuff, have tremendous amount of experience, and introduce SEO to SMB owners. So today's guest, he just arrived. He is none other than Nitin Manchanda. He is a seasoned SEO expert with tremendous experience in travel, e-commerce, and international SEO. His past experience as a developer and a product manager makes him an ideal enterprise SEO geek. I know, I have been following his content for a while now. You can literally call him an SEO geek who knows how to set up SEO processes that work. Nitin has been consulting brands across different industries for years. He has also been hosting SEO webinars for SEMrush since 2017. So if you have any question related to building sustainable growth for your business, he is the right guy. He is also a founder and chief SEO consultant at Botpresso. So without further ado, let me bring him on.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. So many nice words for me.
Right, absolutely, man. You deserve every word which I used there. Thank you so much for
Happy to
taking
be
time out.
here. Yeah,
Fantastic. This is the
pleasure's
first
all
time I think
mine.
this is the first time I think I am interacting with you live like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So how are things? I know you told me yesterday that you are going through some hectic schedules and stuff.
Yeah, that's the life, man. I mean, that's not new. It's just, I was just thinking about lining with you so that we know what topics you're talking about, and I can prepare
Right.
myself, if there is any preparation needed. So that was
Right.
that was the only goal, yeah. But yeah, life
Right.
is busy, and I'm happy about it.
Fantastic. So, Nitin, just to give you a background, this show started in March, April, when COVID kicked in. So I started the show on Fridays where I was started getting experts coming on and sharing their story.
Mhm.
Initially, it was just chat with some of the friends, but then it
Mhm.
got serious and people like Rand Fishkin dropped in, and
Yeah.
it got serious from there. And I am enjoying these 45 minutes to 1 hour I'm spending with people, listening to their story, journey, and all that. So I have
Happy.
a set of curated questions. As you know, it's SEO one-on-one today.
Mhm.
Very
Yeah,
basic
absolutely.
for
Hmm.
SMB owners. And if you're
Yeah,
ready, we can start off.
absolutely.
All right. So, first question which I wanted to always ask you was, you literally are an SEO geek with so much of experience across industries. So how did this passion, I don't know whether it's a passion, but how did this drive in SEO start?
You could also say how exactly this all craziness started, right? So I know
That's the
what you
right
mean.
word.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so the fact is, I did not start as an SEO. I started
Right,
my career as a software developer, and that was with Flipkart back in 2012. And I had absolutely no idea what SEO was. I just knew the full
right,
form of it. And even there, I was a bit skeptical. So I Googled like what SEO is, and then I got to know, okay, search engine optimization. I was right with what I knew about the full form. Yeah.
right,
So, but the good part is SEO was way, way, way easier that time than what it is today. So some of
right,
those experiments that I ran in those initial days, they worked for me, and that they inspired me to do more of it. And that's how
right.
I started, living, with that, and that's how my SEO journey began, basically. Yeah.
Right, right. Fantastic. We're glad that you started off somehow from software developing to this, and you could share a lot of knowledge with all of us. Right. So going on, SEO, it's a term which involves a lot of mixed feelings in business owners and marketers, etc. Some people think it is a myth. We don't need to do it. Some people take it too seriously. For a layman, if for a new business owner, if he wants to go digital way, if he has to understand SEO, what is SEO and why is it important?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think for a layman, I would say there are different ways of bringing traffic to your website. And SEO
Right,
is one sustainable way to generate some traffic for your business, right? I mean, if you're talking about SMBs, right? So not
right,
all SMBs have deep pockets, right? They cannot afford to run paid marketing
right,
all the time, maybe from starting to, 5 years of their age. So SEO
right,
is something which is sustainable way where you're not paying even a single penny to Google and you're still generating traffic. So I
right,
think for any business which wants to, keep their marketing and traffic generation sustainable, SEO is number one thing, and you should definitely think about that. You should definitely invest your time and money. And money, when I'm talking about money, I'm talking about getting education on that if you are not aware of, or bringing someone in house, or hiring someone as someone like me, who can help you build your SEO strategy and give you the initial shape that you need for the initial traction.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think, as you rightly mentioned, it's a sustainable way of growing your business. The traffic is not going to go if you do the right things at the right time and keep doing those. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Right. So,
absolutely.
SEO, if somebody goes and search for SEO on Google, there are so many top terms which pop up, like on page SEO, off page SEO, local SEO, technical SEO, etc., etc. So if you can explain some of these facets of SEO for people, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think you rightly mentioned, like, when you search about SEO, there are a lot of things. You talk about
Yeah.
on page, off page, and then off page. In off page, also, you have like link building. A lot of people call it digital PR
Right.
these days. I
Right.
like that term. And then we talk about a lot many things, right? And then within SEO, you talk about content, you talk about a lot of things, right? And I
Right.
think all of them are important. But I think when you're talking about SEO, so don't confuse yourself with all those things which are there in the market. Just think
Right.
about one thing at a time. And I would say when you're building a product, think about building a perfect product. This
Right.
product should be a product for your users. So keep your user experience in mind as the first thing. So
Right.
ideally a product where if a user lands, then you are keeping this user with you forever. So that should be the goal.
Right.
And if you can
Right.
do that, that is the foundational part. Everything else can be built on top of that. And once you
Right.
have like all this user experience and then foundational elements in there, you can think about optimizing on page, right? You can just move things around and have nice headers, SEO optimize. Maybe you can think about intent and keyword, and just think about those headers. And then you can
Right.
also think about content structure. So yeah, we will basically talk about that
Yeah.
hopefully in detail.
Yeah.
But yeah, in
Yeah.
a nutshell, this is how you should think about it.
Right. It all starts with your product. Spend time there, then keep building on that. Absolutely
Absolutely.
fantastic. Right. So, since we are on this topic, I want to talk a little bit about on-page SEO. So, on page, what are some of the key elements to focus on? Like, imagine that somebody is starting off the journey. So, what are the key elements to focus on when it comes to on page?
Yeah, well, when it comes to on page, I would say the number one thing is page experience, user experience, right? I mean, as I mentioned, like your product should be amazing. So this should be
Right,
number one on page thing. And
right,
once you have that, once you have a product which can make your users fall in love with the product, and they, you are sticking your brand name in their heads. So that is the number one thing you should aim for. And then it comes to
right,
page experience, which is the SEO side of page experience, where I'm talking about core web vitals, which is again part of user experience, but this would also be more significant ranking factor from May 2021, as Google announced last year. So yeah,
right,
that's another thing that I would recommend. And then you can think about the on page SEO part, where you cover headers and page structure and all that stuff. And for that, I
right,
would say you can even start with Google's on guidelines, right? I mean, that's like Google's documentation is improving every day, and that's pretty
right,
awesome. So I would say you can start there, and that in short tells you about what how you should think about your UL structure, your content structure, like what kind of content you should have on your landing pages, and how should
right.
you should think about presenting that, because that's also important, right? I mean, when I'm talking
Yep,
about headers, you should think about core web principles, like how exactly you should think about using H1s, H2s, and so on. And here, before even you think about SEO implication of that, you should think about normal web, like web guidelines, web principles. So header should be like number one header, the main thing.
right,
So just think
right,
about user experience and build your whole content structure. And once you're
right,
done with all these things, then if you again talk about on page elements, then you can also think about like structured data, where you are kind of highlighting your data that you have on the web landing pages, so that search engines can easily understand what you have, and that can also give you some boost in terms of real SERP real estate, because you get, for example, like FAQs, right? If you're implementing structured data there, you get more space, more real estate in SERP. So I think these kind of things you can explore, but yeah, this all begins with content structure. So
absolutely,
yeah, that's
absolutely.
that's covered there.
Right. So on page is predominantly in mostly in your control. It's your product or your website. You have you know what your users are searching for. Make sure you include those terms in your content, in your headers and stuff like that. Fantastic. All right. So similarly, moving on, let's come to off page. What are the some of the most recommended? Because off page is it's I get 100 emails almost in a month saying that we
That's
will
all
get you,
spam.
we will
That's all
get you
spam.
list. You
Yeah,
will get you listed on DA90 website, DA85
yeah,
website, this and that. So, what
yeah.
are the common off-page tactics that you recommend to your clients and you do yourself?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would just say that I'm not an expert when it comes to off-page SEO, but I am also, learning in that domain, and that is like really fascinating. And
Right,
there, if you talk about off-page, I would say digital PR is the new term that everyone is using, and that's really fancy. I'll talk about that. So this
right,
is basically about creating content that can attract organic links for you. Then
right,
talking to those people who are sending you emails that, hey, DA 80 90 and all that bullshit, that really is shit, right?
right,
So I would
right,
say think about building content which can attract organic links for you,
right,
right? So
right,
everyone, so you should, on this content, it should be unique, the perspective should be different, that everyone wants to read about. And once you have this content, you will see a lot of people are organically, without even asking, linking to you. And here
right,
I'm talking about contextual linking as well. So for
right,
example, let's say today you're talking about top countries to visit after COVID
right,
19, right?
right.
So this is a topic which is very hot, and everyone is looking for travel, including myself. So I'm really dying to travel somewhere. 2020 was shit, I did not go anywhere, but yeah, I can't wait to travel this
Start
year.
traveling.
So if I see an article which talks about the countries, top countries which would be trending maybe in Europe after COVID-19 restriction,
Lives off.
so this is a content which everyone wants to read about, and this is the content which everyone would be, thinking about linking from their own blogs, or maybe publications, when they're talking about, okay, what happens after COVID-19. They're like,
Right,
hey, we saw this article from a company ABC.com. They're talking about it. It's an amazing content. It is meaningful. It is not
right.
just another piece of content. It is meaningful. They have some facts in there, some nice images. So make your content amazing so that it attracts those organic links, you know
Yeah.
on its own. Yeah.
Right, right. That's yeah. I think that's a very valid point. If you really invest some time in preparing original, authentic, and amazing content, I'm pretty sure that you will attract incoming links automatically. You don't have to reach out to people to link to you or anything. It happens naturally. That's very nice. All
And
right.
this is actually very expensive area as well. So when I moved to Berlin, and before that, I had a different perception of all this, link building thing because I was in India, and there people do it very differently. So when I moved there, I spoke to some agencies who are doing it right, and they are following, really like organic path there, and still outreaching, all these big publishers, and they are really expensive. Like per link, I've seen companies paying like 2,000, 3,000 euros per link. So if you convert
Wow.
that to INR, 2000 is what? 1,70,000 INR. That's hell lot of money, right? I mean, paying for one link.
Absolutely.
So this
Absolutely.
is a crazy
Absolutely.
thing for sure.
Right, but I'm pretty sure those agencies will be doing it in the right way, not like the agencies in India,
Absolutely.
which is literally it's crossing a line these days. It's becoming
Yeah,
too
absolutely.
cheap and too many people into this. So I
Yeah,
stay away
absolutely.
from them for sure. All right. So
Yeah.
next interesting piece, which I am learning myself right now, is just reading Moz's new guide on local SEO. Local SEO is very, very. It's a new fascinating thing for me. So because I keep interacting with a lot of local businesses, and sometimes
Yeah.
I lack some insights to give them from a SEO perspective. So I'm learning myself. So what are some of the common tactics which you recommend for people to do when it comes to local SEO?
Yeah. Well, so I will talk about only the first steps here. So I would say
Sure.
if you're a local business and you're thinking about attracting some local traffic, you should think about creating your Google My Business
Right.
listing. So that should be number one. And if you have multiple businesses, then listings. Yeah. And then every listing should have NAP, which is name, address, and phone number. So this is really mandatory. So if I'm looking for your business, I should have, your address and your phone number and so on. So this is number one thing. And then you should also again, I mean, user experience is the key, right? I mean, if you're serving great user experience, then you can also expect some great reviews as well. Reviews play a big role here. So you should
Absolutely.
think about that. And even if you see any critical review, you should think about learning something from that and reply that user, hey, apologies, you had the experience, we're working on it. And then if you can offer something to fix that experience, awesome, do that. And make sure that same user thinks about adding another review saying, hey, it was mess when I dealt with them before, but now it's all sorted and they're awesome, right? So
Yeah.
user experience and reviews play a big role. And then you can think about citation as well. So locally, companies talking about that or other businesses talking about that, so that as well. Yeah, so these are
Right.
like my some tips which will help you set up the foundational elements when it comes to local SEO. Yeah, and then user
Right.
experience again is the king.
Right, right. Google My Business has evolved so much. Google keeps adding a lot of features, and it has almost become like a virtual showroom for your shop or business. You can do
Absolutely,
a lot of things. You
absolutely.
can upload videos, images, client testimonials, and things like that. So you have to keep it
Mhm.
active like your store. All right.
Absolutely.
Going forward, there is always I'm in India, so I'm like, unfortunately I'm not in Berlin. People
Mhm.
here has weird expectations when it comes to SEO. If they hire a
Mhm.
consultant, they want them to rank on the top page within 2 weeks. So all these kind
Mhm.
of unrealistic expectations are there. So SEO is always
Mhm.
considered to be a long-term strategy and requires a lot of dedication.
Mhm.
What are
Right.
your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, it's definitely a long-term channel, and like you mentioned, when when you speak with a consultant, a potential consultant, you say, okay, what are you offering? And there are companies, there are consultants who are offering okay top three in 3 months and so on. So I'm also working with multiple clients, but I never ever offer that. And if they ask me,
Right.
hey, until when we can expect this in top three or something, well, I do not answer this question, but my answer is different. Yeah. And this is definitely a long term channel, and it depends on you how much effort you are putting to make it to define that long term, right? I mean, if you're
Right.
building an awesome product and you think in 3 months you can fix everything and implement a lot of things that I'm recommending, probably the 3 months time is good enough
Good
time.
enough.
But if you're working with a client, maybe it's a big organization where you need, a lot of bureaucracy and all those approvals from here and there, and then you're working on it, it can take years, right?
Right.
So slowly and slowly you will improve, and you cannot say, okay, we are talking about 200% growth, 500%
Right.
growth, which can
Right.
happen when you're talking about a smaller company where you do not need like 500 different approvals to get one thing done. So it's like, you're
Right.
discussing about it, and if the other person is convinced, okay, we will do this next week, and end of next week things are going live. So this speed, of course, you can think about, seeing growth almost immediately. Well, not immediately, but almost immediately. And when you're suggesting something and it will take 6 months to implement that, then of course you have the answer, right?
Right, right, absolutely. You have to be people have to be realistic about the efforts and the time required to do all these kind of things, because a lot of in
Yeah,
SEO there are a lot of things which happen in the back end,
absolutely.
which the client or the business owner may not understand. So you have
Yeah.
to be
Well,
very
SEO, yeah, people
yeah,
should understand that SEO is not magic, right? It is just, so we SEOs understand a few things, how you can ensure good user experience as well as you can ensure good search engine experience. So we are just
right,
combining that. We are just
right,
recommending things based on that. You should understand that we are not magicians, right? We need you, we need a product. And if, I'm bringing a lot of traffic, for example, on your website today, and your product experience is shit, nobody wants to stay on your website, then of course Google will realize that, right? You have a lot of metrics, like for example dwell time, right, which is like people who are searching on Google landing on a website, and then you're serving horrible experience, people are just closing it, going back to serve, clicking somewhere else, right? So
right,
Google gets all these signals, and
right,
based on that they would say, okay, a lot of people going to this website, they're coming back on serve and clicking somewhere else, which means this site is not giving them satisfactory content, which means
right,
they should not rank above. So
right,
these are a lot of factors which play a big role, and I would say,
right.
and a lot of people say like this is like one of the hottest questions, right? I mean, being I think 5 years or maybe 8 years, I think since when I started my career, I'm hearing this. Is SEO dead? So I would say
Yeah,
SEO is not dead, but it has changed completely. And if you're still
right,
thinking about that SEO which was there like 10 years back, getting directory links and just focusing on tiny things here and there and not doing anything for user experience, not doing anything really 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 for user first and then search engine, and you're still thinking about those metrics like how many keywords you're putting in your meta title description, well, you are not going anywhere, then SEO is dead for you. But if you are also evolving with time and understanding how Google works and how user experience works as the primary stakeholder here in the whole journey, I think then SEO is not that for you.
absolutely. I remember every January this discussion comes up. SEO is dead.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Every marketing funnel is dead. So these
Yeah.
discussions keep propping up. All right.
Mhm.
So now comes to the main thing, which is close to my heart: SMBs. So
Yeah.
should SMBs focus on SEO for establishing their brand, or growing their business? If yes, why?
Well, I think any business, any SMB should definitely invest in SEO. As I mentioned before, it is a way of sustainable growth. And especially with SMBs where you don't have deep pockets, right? I mean, you cannot just rely on marketing spend. If you don't have like heavy marketing budgets, if you are not, invested by big players there, you don't have a lot of money in your pocket that you want to spend on generating traffic immediately, you can think about SEO as one of your most important channels.
Right,
And of
right,
course, I mean, in some cases, I would not say, SEO should be the only thing. So when you're thinking about, let's say, going live and you're thinking about some quick traction so that people can come land on your website to understand, what you're offering and what kind of user experience you have. Of course, you can mix it with some paid marketing as well. But
campaigns. Yeah,
SEO is something, so whatever you're building when it comes to SEO stays with you forever. So let's say you're
absolutely.
building amazing content, you are giving a nice structure to your content, that stays with you. You don't have to pay for
Right,
that again. It is
right.
there. It is there in your company's DNA and stays with you forever. Yeah.
Right.
So I would say definitely a big yes in terms of investing in SEO as an
Right.
SMB. Yeah.
Right. So on a related note, I've read this somewhere that customers, if they find that an SMB has got a fantastic website, 80 to 90% of them end up buying from there. That's
Mhm.
like a trust factor coming in with a good website with a good content on it. etc., etc.
Absolutely.
All right. All right. So now imagine that, people, SMB, some SMB owners listen to Nitin and they want to start the journey. Okay, they
Okay.
wanna focus on SEO. They want to do it themselves for now. So what are some of
Mhm.
the baby steps you recommend so that they can kick off the journey?
Yeah. Well, I think I already answered this, but I still answer it one more time. So just
Sure.
focus on amazing product. Your product should be amazing. So whenever you're getting a user on your website, you should aim for, keeping that user forever with you. So that should be your goal. And
Right.
then another thing I would say, so a lot of people talk about different things, when it comes to SEO, and SEO differs a lot for different industries as well. So something that
Right.
is working for my product, my industry might not work for you. Maybe you're in a different industry. So I would say, follow data-driven approach. Try to prove everything yourself. So, just take data-informed decisions. Do not trust
Right.
on what people are saying, because there are a
Right.
lot of people talking about, random stuff when it comes to SEO. Don't believe on them. Well,
Right.
learn from them if they are really, authentic people and they're talking about real stuff, backing and data is backing their, whatever they're saying. Just take that and think about using that as an experiment on your product, and then
Right.
see whether it's working for you or not. And if it's
Right.
working for you, you have the answer. You can think about scaling it. And if it's not working for you, well, then again you have the answer, right?
Right, I got it. Fantastic. That's the right way to start off that journey. Right. Now, interesting question, because you are one among the consultants who provide expertise in SEO, from the SEO field. So, can SMB owners manage their SEO on their own, or do they need support from consultants, agencies? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, I would not leave this opportunity to promote myself, and that's what marketers do. So if you do not understand SEO, then of course you can think about hiring someone like me who understands a bit of SEO. I don't call myself SEO expert, but I'm still learning. There's a lot to learn. Yeah, so you can hire somebody like me, or maybe super experts who understand SEO. And if you understand SEO, well, that's awesome. I mean, you can just start with that. But I would say
Right.
SEO is a field which is evolving every single day. Even now,
Right.
that we are speaking, maybe John Muller is talking about something, something changed, or some magic is happening in SEO world. Yeah, so it's
Right.
always evolving. So when you're in SEO, I would highly recommend to develop this habit of continuous learning. So you should know what is happening in the world and how exactly you can make use of that for your product and be better at organic visibility every other day. Yeah.
Right. So, just to give, if any SMB owner watches this video, if you want to understand the pace at which this field changes, just go to Twitter. Just keep your alerts on for Google Webmaster Twitter handle. You, the kind of announcement which keeps on happening, you will be able to understand how quick the algorithm changes, how quick new things come into
Absolutely.
picture, etc.
Yeah. And I can also recommend subscribing to this newsletter from Aleda Solis. It's called SEO FOMO. That's pretty awesome. And Aleda herself, she's like one of my favorites, and she's herself curating all these stories which goes in this newsletter. So if you want to,
Okay.
keep just one newsletter which arrives in your inbox once a week, and you want to keep yourself updated about everything that is happening in SEO world, that is the newsletter. Just go for
Okay.
that.
I think your voice got choked for a minute. Which was the
Okay.
newsletter? Can you repeat that?
SEO FOMO.
SEO FOMO.
SEO
Okay,
FOMO.
got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Thank you. So SEO FOMO, make sure you subscribe to that if you want to learn more about it. All right. So now let's come to the main, another big piece of discussion which happens is tools. You know, there are a lot of tools coming up every day in marketing. SEO is no stranger to that. SEO, there are a lot of tools coming. So I want to know from you, what are some of your favorite SEO tools? And also you have to remember that we I am the thrifty marketer. We love to keep things thrifty, as thrifty as possible. So that you recommend to your SMB clients some of the SEO
Yeah.
tools.
Yeah. Well, I am associated with SEMrush, and well, not because of this reason, but in general, also I love SEMrush as a tool. It is
Yeah.
amazing tool, covers a lot, and it is not expensive as well. So I would
Yeah.
highly recommend getting SEMrush. And I know a lot of SMBs. So whenever I work with clients or speaking to different people, speaking somewhere, a lot of people are using SEMrush. It is an amazing tool for SMBs in particular. So I would highly
Right.
recommend that. And
Right.
then I am also a big fan of Screaming Frog. So I love, this tool, uh, which is also like very inexpensive tool, and it covers a lot of depth. So for SEO audits, I highly recommend using that. And then I think a lot of people underestimate the value of Google Analytics and Google Search Console. Google Search Console is amazing. So this is the
Yeah.
tool which is giving you data from Google directly, right? So you should not underestimate it. Make full use of that. So yeah, I
Right.
will highly recommend keeping it high in your list as well.
Right. So I know that Google Search Console has improved a lot in last 6 months. It's giving a lot of insights, and
Absolutely.
it gives you a lot of amazing reports. So
Absolutely.
guys,
And if I'm not checked, yeah, if I'm not checked, I would also recommend checking YouTube channel of Google Webmasters. They're also talking about a lot of things. So last week, John Mueller was talking about image optimization, a very basic topic. Everyone should know about that. But John Mueller, like someone like him, who's really smart, really high level, he's talking about that basic concept because people should know about it. Google is realizing that people should understand basic web principles and how these things should work. So I would
right.
recommend checking those videos out as well, and yeah, they're doing great.
Right, right. So Google Webmaster YouTube channel is another great resource to check out. All right. So now, we are almost reaching the end of the session. I want to know a little bit more about you, and I want everybody to know a little bit more about Nitin. So, you have done some fabulous work across your career. Okay. So that's
Thank
how
you so much.
I started calling you SEO champion. So I want this is like the humble brag moment, okay? So I want you to share some of your proudest work you have done in your career.
Yeah, so I think I'll start with Flipkart. That's where I started my professional journey, and I'm really really happy that I got an opportunity to work with a brand like Flipkart in those early days. So
Right.
at that time, I did not know SEO, but I started with experiments, and my manager was really kind. He gave me full free hands working on these experiments, and I'm so proud that I managed to go Flipkart organically 350% in 2 years time. So that was something
Wow.
which gave me a lot of motivation, and from there I decided to continue with this. And
Right.
after that, so I led SEO teams for some really big brands, big international brands like Trivago and Omeo. So I'm
Wow.
really proud of that as well. And and yeah, I also want to talk about my webinar hosting experience with SEMrush. So I've been doing
Right.
that for more than 3 years now, and I'm very close to reach 50 webinars with SEMrush. When I started this, I was a bit skeptical because I'm not a native speaker. So I was like, man, shall I do this or not? But now I'm reaching 50 webinars already. I'm so proud of it. So this is
Right.
the opportunity, I took to contribute back to the community, and I'm glad, I'm already there with 50 webinars, and looking forward to do, maybe 50 more. Yeah, and
Fantastic.
apart from this, I also speak at a lot of online and offline events. So, since COVID-19, it's all online, but before that, I was doing offline as well. And the biggest
Right.
event I've done is SMX Munich. So that's the event for which I paid 1,600 euros 3 years back. And last year, I got the opportunity to speak there. And the interesting part was right after my session, it was John Mueller's session. So
Whoa.
it was, I think,
Okay.
yeah, that was, I think, a fantastic moment for me.
That's a God sign, actually.
Indeed, yeah. So
Fantastic,
proud of that.
fantastic. Amazing, amazing. 350% growth for Flipkart.com. My goodness. That would have been some learning, if I'm not so sure, if I'm not wrong, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, the good
Fantastic.
part was I was engineer that time. I was focusing on SEO efforts, but I was engineer. So whatever I wanted to do, I could do it myself. And
Yeah.
on bureaucracy part as well, it was kind of sorted because I just had to speak with the manager and maybe a couple of more people if I'm talking about something crazy.
Right.
And I
Right.
implemented some hacks, and those hacks worked like magic that time because SEO was much simpler, as I mentioned, right? And now
Right.
I can't imagine, giving 350% growth to a brand like Flipkart, which is massive.
Now,
Yeah,
now they have 350 million to invest to bring in 3,500% growth. So you don't have to worry about it.
absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, I have some good friends of mine who are at this juncture of technology meets marketing. They are like, they are real geeks. They know the back end,
Absolutely.
which I am zero. Back end and front, they know the, obviously they are common sense. With common sense, they do a lot of testing and a lot of good stuff. Amazing, amazing. So the final question, which I ask everybody who comes on the show, because this is COVID-19/20 season. How has COVID-19 impacted you and your work, and how is 2021 looking for you?
Yeah. Well, professionally, I would say COVID was horrible because I was working for a travel brand, Omeo, that time, and I saw business going down 98% in 3 weeks' time. Yes, you
My
heard
God.
it right. 98% down in 3 weeks' time. That was heartbreaking. And so somehow, we planned things around that. But yeah, it was basically bad time. And still, Omeo is struggling with that. So that's one on professional side. And on personal side, it was amazing for me because my second daughter arrived in our lives in September last year. So that was
Fantastic.
fantastic. And because of COVID, I was working from home and I was able to spend more time with family exactly when it was needed. So yeah, on
Right.
personal side, it was great. And now talking about 2021, so I think the goal is mainly to focus on things that I love. So like you mentioned about, you have some friends who are basically in this intersection where technology and marketing both are things, right? So for me,
Right.
it's the same thing. So I started as software engineer, then I did a bit of product management and Trivago, and then I moved completely towards SEO. So I'm also at that intersection where you talk about product engineering and marketing side of things. So I'm so proud and about the experience that I gained during last years, and the plan is basically to continue that and focus more on this SEO plus tech side of things, and let's see what comes out. And then the plan is also to publish more content. So last year I spoke to some people and they said I'm not that active because of a lot of things which were happening at my personal side and professional side. But this year I have promised myself that I will be contributing more to the community through articles, case studies, and I'm also thinking about putting in some videos to tell people about how things work, because I see like there are a lot of videos, a lot of content, and yeah, that I'm not, to be honest, like big fan of that content. So I'm thinking about sharing my experience through that content, so working on that. And if you really want to follow me on that, like what kind of content I'm talking about, case studies and all that hopefully exciting stuff, you can follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn. You can just Google my name and you will find me there. I think my name's SEO is pretty pretty nice. So yeah, just give it a
Right.
try.
Absolutely, absolutely. I follow you anyway, so I'm looking forward to all the exciting stuff you're talking about and sharing it around with the community as well. Right. So Nitin, thank you so much for coming on the show, and it's our first interaction itself. It's been super exciting. I learned a lot, and I look forward to learning from you more and interacting with you more in 2021. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a really nice chatting with you. And
Right.
yeah, have a nice 2021 to you too as well. Take
Yes.
care.
Stay safe. Take care. Bye. All right. So that was Nitin Manchanda. I don't know, guys. I'm not a big fan of this so-called marketers and SEO experts, etc. etc. I don't follow them. I talk to real people who have gone through a real journey and have something actionable to take, deliver. So Nitin is one of those folks from an SEO field, and I look forward to bringing more guests like him on the show. Next week, I want all of you to tune in because I have the father. I don't know whether it's a term, he might hate it, but he is the king of customer experience. So please tune in next week. And it's a happy weekend coming on. Enjoy and stay safe whenever you go out. Wear your mask and don't forget to take your sanitizers. Thank you so much, guys. Good night.